this is going to be another little video where I'm going to put up some evidence and talk some smack and make a point. Now, I'm doing all this for the simple fact that Sergeant Bailey has called me, told me he's going to get a warrant for Nathan. There's no warrant. He's avoiding my calls to keep from me being able to give him Nathan's location. We're having issues. So it basically shows that they're trying to protect him. Now, Nathan's a little pissed off at me because I happened to put out in a video that he was messing around with a 13-year-old girl. He's a little bit pissed off at me because, well, he's a police informant who sets people up for the cops. Now, that's kind of a thing where you don't want to be known as a snitch. You don't want to be known as someone who sets people up for the police. And, well, we can see right here with the evidence I'm about to present in a few seconds, a few minutes, whatever, that the police are protecting Nathan. Now, they say they're going to do something, but they're not. And it gets really funny because where I put out that previous video pointing to Rachel Farmer, again, Nathan's using her to try and contact me. Fortunately, the dumbass called me and didn't block her number.
Yeah. Who's this? Oh, sorry. I got time. Okay. I'm looking for Ronald Collins.
This is Sergeant Bailey.
This is him? Sergeant Bailey, the Nathan Police Department. I'm calling to see if you have any more information on the people who attacked you in the train tunnel the other day. No, except I've gotten about 3 calls from somebody blocking their number. The first 2 times I didn't answer it. Third time I answered it, they hung up. Okay, you don't know, you don't have a number or anything that they called from? Did you call your phone company to see if they can get that information for you? Nope, they can't get it for me. I already checked. The name you gave me when I first talked to you was John Lilly? Yeah. Do you know any information at all about like where he lives or number or street or anything at all? Because there's like 100 of them. Well, his middle name's Nathan. That's generally what he goes by. His middle name's Nathan. Do you know what, like, how tall he is and all that good stuff? Shoot, he's about, 5'4". I think he's about 5'6". Okay. How much does he weigh? He said skinny.
See, here's the thing about it. He's asking me questions, and he already has, the build and everything else based off of the simple fact that, well, they have the video. He even admits they have the video later than that. But here's the funny thing. The previous recording was Rachel Farmer. Now, I went and checked the number, and here's what we have. Whole list of her family. Bought up on the reverse phone number lookup thing. On my Android, all this is a list of people that live, her address and the phone number and everything else. And it's interesting because they're pissed off because I put them out there on the internet for being informants for the police. Now, since Rachel decided to get involved, and I've been holding off some of the information, putting it out there on her. I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm not going to go ahead and air out everybody's dirty laundry. That would be snitching. But I will put it out like this. The entirety of the farmers are pretty much police informants. And here we have them connected with another police informant who's covering up for it. And it gets even better because you can look on this clip where Amanda Kirk got on YouTube talking trash on where you can post comments on the YouTube video, trying to make things up and everything. And I'm going to put that up now. Okay, now as you can see right here with the comments from Amanda on YouTube, she got on there, stressing that she doesn't want her family's name thrown around in my little videos. That's because her family's involved in selling pills and dealing drugs and everything else, and they don't want to be connected to informants. But what we do have here is, in fact, the fact that she even admits they're connected to informants. This is a little funny thing about this. When you sit here reading her comments, she states, "I was found guilty of contributing to a minor," which, for those of you who actually pay attention, it means that Don Rowley, the big Bujin Khan guy who gets out here trying to tear down anyone not Bujin Khan for having a different ninjutsu style or whatever, and the so-called historical expert on most of these web forums, who made the comment that I pled down to contributing to a minor, basically lied. So if he lied about that, if he's going through the whole course of defaming my character, it makes you wonder exactly what he has to gain. Well, of course, he's trying to defame me so he can push his own agenda, which is to get people to buy Bujin Khan, to buy into the Bujin Khan BS. But we're not even going to worry about that. The fact of the matter is, when the police took my computers to get rid of evidence that I had on Ashley Redden, and that whole falsification of evidence issue, they got evidence of certain people who were business competitors defaming my character that I was getting evidence for to seek legal repercussions. Haven't reached that point quite just yet. Waiting around till about February for that one, just to give you guys a heads up. Feel free to think and take action. And of course, Don Rowley putting me up on his blog, trying to cover up, and misinterpret things and spin it, basically proves his own guilt. We got pictures of that too, by the way, Don. So what comes up really funny with this is, for one, her login name is WV Rebel Mom. Okay, racial overtones aside, rebels buck the system. So for people who have a leaning towards criminal activity, especially country people in the South, what you get is that this woman is essentially, since she had this up years before posting this this whole thing on YouTube, what you get is a person who is essentially proud of their bucking the system, of their criminal culture or whatever. And then she goes on here to admit that she's associated with Daryl Lilly. Daryl Lilly's the former head of the Avengers, and Daryl Lilly is also married to Michelle Jennings. He divorced Pam and married Michelle. You can see my comment at the top of the screen here. And it gets really funny because, they went out of their way to try and push this whole thing and to get Ashley to lie and to get Ashley to make up a story and to exaggerate things, which she actually admitted during the appeal on court record. And what makes this so amazing is this is a matter of court record. It's a proven fact that Ashley Redden got up and said that the cop, her mom, and the prosecutor made her lie. Okay, now when you factor in the fact that Trooper Duckworth, the arresting officer, is related to the Reddens, through his sister being married to his partner, Trooper Williams, who's a cousin of the Reddens, then what you have is a bias investigating officer. That's evident in the fact that and there's a video I've already put out here, where he has gone and made up an FBI agent. Actually, if you listen to our recording of me and Lieutenant Deeds, it comes down to a simple situation here, that I did call the FBI under the direction of a federal marshal to get the FBI to investigate, because the FBI usually investigates dirty cops and civil rights violations and things like that. And the FBI agent threatened me over the phone, so I threatened him back, because if they were going to charge me, they would have to actually charge me with they'd have to charge me with the crime and have to use those recordings as proof. If they charged me with a crime on a federal level and didn't have those recordings as proof, it was proof that there was something covered up. The fact that the FBI agent's name was falsified. They gave a name for an FBI agent who didn't exist. shows that they were trying to hide something. They also gave the incorrect date for the sole purpose of trying to get me to go after that date and try to get the discovery material for that date, which even if I was able to get it, would basically show that there was no call to the FBI. So that's an interesting issue in and of itself. This is also why the prosecutor here in Raleigh County is going out of their way to keep me from getting my phone records. They're making excuses and they don't want to give it in discovery and da-da-da-da-da-da. Because, quite simply put, the prosecutor's office isn't trying to serve justice. They're trying to get a conviction. They're trying to cover up for the criminal activity taken in bad faith by police officers, using informants, falsifying evidence, and everything else. For whatever reason, now here's the thing about it. A prosecutor can get away with violating your civil rights. They can get away with doing this because there's some sort of issue with the they call it a prosecutorial discretion or something like that, that protects them in being overzealous. The problem is there's also a good faith, bad faith clause, which means they have to go about taking that action in good faith based on evidence presented by the officers. So if the officer is biased and the prosecutor has that evidence, or knows that the officer is biased, and they go ahead and bring it in because they believe that the person is guilty, then that's fine. But when they know the officer is biased, falsifying evidence, falsifying information, and doing so because they are associated with other people who have criminal ties, they're part of some sort of criminal organization, what happens is that comes into the clause of bad faith. They're just as guilty. See, this goes back to that whole thing with the missing drugs from the Beckley Police Department. The city of Beckley, actually the county of Raleigh, is trying to prosecute one woman who was in charge of it. And they're trying to pin everything on her. But the feds are still investigating, and nothing has come out of the federal investigation. And what you're looking at here is Raleigh County trying to cover up evidence. Actually, they passed it off to another county to cover up, to do the covering up, to pass the buck off to somebody else. I think it's Greenbrier County. And Greenbrier County has a similar problem, so Raleigh County is the only investigation for Greenbrier County. And what they're going to do is they're just going to cover up for each other and sweep everything under the rug. Now, here's the problem. When you have them caught doing that, that kills the actions taken in good faith, bad faith. In fact, my recording of the Raleigh County Prosecutor's Office, when they tried to set me and my student and his brother up, comes down to the simple fact that they tried to intentionally keep me from giving them exculpatory evidence proving that the officers falsified evidence. They used a false statement from an informant, Terrence Price, and they got other evidence to reinforce that statement. That was evident in my recording with me and the officer, because he even admits he knew my door was kicked in. But in his own report, he says that he came to my house and knocked on the door and got no answer. From my understanding, the door facing came completely out of the wall. So how did you knock on my door? Did you walk in and knock on the floor where the door was laying? I mean, did you not see that the whole thing was ripped out of the door or ripped out of the wall? You know, this is just, they're caught red-handed. They're doing everything they can to try to cover it up and hide it. I go to court later on in December to file motions of discovery to get everything. And again, you know, the prosecutor's office is trying to cover it up. The problem is, when we go in there, since the prosecutor's office hasn't asked for discovery yet, which is odd, considering the case has been ongoing for a minute, what we get here is that their actions in and of itself have that good faith, bad faith claim. They can say, oh, well, you know, we didn't do it, and come up with some excuse, and we have to take it in good faith unless there's evidence proving they did it in bad faith. Fortunately, the same prosecutor I caught on tape trying to get rid of the evidence in the situation with me and my student Marlo and the false statements by Terrence Price is the same one I got to go and deal with in court. So that makes it very interesting, given that you know, he has a reason to be biased. There's a conflict of interest there because they kind of hold a grudge against me for showing that they're acting criminally. Now, here we go, right back to that same network of snitches and everything else, and we go right back to Amanda Kirk. You know, this whole thing is just background information to the fact that Amanda Kirk admits that she knows Daryl Lilly. Daryl Lilly is married to Mary Jennings' daughter. At the same time, what you see here is, you know, they went through a big deal to keep their name, the Kirks, out of it. Nobody wanted the Kirks mentioned. When I first talked to Duckworth about what Ashley Redden had told me, you know, I mentioned it in passing. Like I told him, I don't really believe half the shit that she told me because, you know, she was a child, and children tend to make things up. So I told him that. And I was like, she mentioned this, and then she mentioned the Kirks. So then they come after me, wow, because they're trying to protect the Kirks. What's so important about the Kirks? What's so funny about this is if I'm lying. And I've even told her to sue me. If I'm lying, fuck it, sue me. No, because then we got to bring the evidence in the court, and you don't want that on the court record. Because it'll be on the record in civil court. Don't want that. They don't want to put it on record now in criminal court. So they're trying to keep everything contained to the magistrate court. And the funny thing about this is that when I go in there and I present evidence, a recording of the Raleigh County Prosecutor's Office showing a pattern of behavior, a conflict of interest, to where they were trying to get rid of evidence that they knew was falsified by the police. And of course, we already have my recording on here for me and Captain Rogers, where he admitted that I came to him with evidence showing that Stewart and Capehart falsified evidence, and he tried to sweep the whole thing under the rug. Which is the only reason Sergeant Bailey's even doing his fucking job, because we went, my lawyer went and got a subpoena to get those video records. And that's already been covered, and now they're giving me this, you know, bullshit lip service about, we're going to get a warrant for him, but I need the correct information, and I can't get a warrant for him because, he, whatever. So, here's the thing about it, alright? Cool. You're making excuses. You're telling me you're going to do something, but you're not. It's a lot easier for you to just get a warrant, say you don't know where the hell he's at, and, you know, by happenstance, another officer might pick him up. Instead, what they're doing is giving me lip service and trying to sweep evidence under the rug. Trying to hope, you know, oh, we can convince them this will save me or whatever. Here's the thing about it. It doesn't happen like that. See, by me telling you what I'm going to do, you try to stop me from doing it. You come up with some excuse, some lie, whatever. You make excuses and reasoning, whatever bullshit you want. The fact of the matter is, you know, I let Nathan win one little fight, and he couldn't even do it by himself. He had to have Fat Boy to help him. And all we got from it, all that came out of it, is that what I have, which is far more important than any bullshit with Nathan Lilly, I can take that boy blindfolded. He's not other than the fact that he's going to jump me with a gang of people or probably pull a gun on me and shoot me, and the police are going to sweep it under the rug and cover it up or whatever. What's going to happen, you know, this is more valuable because of what it does to the Beckley police, because I'm showing a constant pattern of behavior, a constant cycle of criminal activity. Which is why I've taken some of this evidence on the Beckley Police Department and taken it to the federal prosecutor. And I got a little bit more coming their way. So I'm going to give them a few little pieces of information here, a few little pieces of information there. In fact, what I'm thinking of doing is I'm going to take all the information that I sent to the governor's office, and I'm going to give it to the federal prosecutor. Now, allow me to explain. If I take all that evidence and I give it to the federal prosecutor, here's what's going to happen. The federal prosecutor will have enough evidence to go in and start arresting police officers, magistrates, maybe a judge or two. And there's that whole issue with Hutchison about him making that statement when I tried to sue Duckworth that I couldn't sue Duckworth because he's the military. Yeah, okay. Here's the problem. If I can't sue Duckworth because he's the military, then what you essentially come into, you're violating federal law. By your bench ruling, you violated federal law. the military of the United States of America is under the Department of Defense, not the West Virginia Governor's Office. They're not the military, Judge Hutchison. More importantly, they're not the National Guard. See, the National Guard, which is under the Governor's office. However, I need to point out that the National Guard is listed by federal law as the organized militia. So if the state police are the organized militia, then what we're looking at is that we are essentially under a state of emergency. However, also according to the West Virginia Constitution and state law, the National Guard cannot be put on the street to do anything without the governor's direct approval and by stating or by putting us in a state of emergency, which means you just threw out the entire case because if he's the National Guard, he can't do anything. Now, you see the problem here? You show your own bias in this, which is why I filed complaints. And, I could care less about what the Judicial Ethics Committee says, because now that makes them an accessory to the fact. And while you're calling in all these favors, trying to sweep shit under the rug, all you're doing is leaving footprints. You can go ahead and mop up the floor, but walking over top of it with dirty shoes, you're still leaving those footprints from where you walked. Now, at this point, if I have to, I'll find another way to get my phone records, even if I have to get them personally to do so. Now, but none of that matters, because at this point you've left so many fingerprints through the system, no jury in their right mind is going to convict me. And you put me on the stand talking about this, and then me giving physical evidence to the prosecutor's office. When we file our motion of discovery, we have to turn in our discovery material. And there's a whole crap load of it. Other than the fact that I have 2 cell phones here, other than the fact that I have things copied to DVD and CDs, that there's 15 different copies of everything floating around in Beckley with friends who were supposed to make more copies of it. The fact that, there's 2 external hard drives floating around that I don't even have access to. It'd take me a couple days to get, but I can get them. That has all the evidence. The evidence isn't going away. Some of this evidence is in Canada and in Mexico, and it is far outside the bounds of the state of West Virginia. Hell, some of it's in South America. Some of it's with friends of mine in Europe. And this is where it gets funny, because there's nothing you can do. It's there. So when I get up here talking about physical evidence, you have no way of covering it up. And we also have none other than my favorite little involved individual in this, Mingo Winters, actually going so far as to lie to me, and we have him on tape lying to me. So when we go in for our motions of discovery hearing, I want to find out if the prosecutor has copies of these motions he claims to have filed. And see, even if you get rid of the physical evidence, which is floating around, which is next to impossible to get all of it, you would literally have to, you'd have to probably wage a war, invade Canada and Mexico and South America and fucking everything to get it. What's so funny about this is that I've only put a small fraction on the internet. Not all of it, just a small fraction. I know there's a lot of people trying to get me to put more on there and everything else because they're afraid of their involvement getting drawn into it. And it gets even better because, you actually have, at one point in time, and it's not even on here, it was taken down, apparently. But that's okay, I got a screenshot of it too, of where Amanda Kirk signs in, creates a new YouTube identity after I block hers, and throws up the name, I'm Amanda Kirk. And she throws Bullshido into this. Go to Bullshido, see how they think of you. Really? Oh, right, I forgot, Beckley police officer. What's his name? Brian Adderson, who runs Beckley MMA. And some of his little students and cronies and such are involved in Bullshido. So, Now, I don't really think that this is like some kind of conspiracy by Bullshido. I doubt it. But what we have is really interesting because you have business competitors and people trying to defame my character and everything else. And it's really funny because Bullshido is trying to use POW Network, which is ran by Chuck Harden, who used to be a contributor for Bullshido until he was found to be lying. Oh, yeah, and of course, they try to bring up fucking Elmore. And again, that's really funny because, they're trying to bring up stuff that was taken down from him because it was character assassination using outright lies and misleading facts and trying to associate opinion as fact. This is really funny because there's with everyone trying to attack me and everyone feeding each other, all they're doing is becoming accessories to the fact. And it's actually quite tragic. But for the most part, all we have to do is look on here to see that none other than Rachel Farmer, calling from her grandmommy's house, calls my phone, says, "Oh, wrong number." Really? Well, maybe it's a coincidence. Or maybe she's trying to see if I'm still within cell phone range because my cell phone doesn't work out at the campsite. And I've been up in Beckley this whole time. And I've given them all a bunch of false information that, that they're trying to use, but they really don't know. This is I'm sorry, I'm gloating. I should humble myself, but the reality of the matter is that you guys are feeding me. You're giving me everything I need to use against you, and you're making it so easy. See, when we filed discovery, we wanted every comment I've ever made that will be used in court, including these YouTube videos. Not necessarily directed towards the police, but all these YouTube videos. And they include pieces of evidence, such as the prosecutor trying to conceal exculpatory evidence can be used in a person's innocence, to prove a person's innocence. You have this with, the police admitting I came to them with proof that their officers were falsifying evidence. So as it stands, I can still sue the city of Beckley for easily $3 million for Stewart, Capehart, and Captain Rogers covering it all up. So of course they're jumping at the bit to give me lip service at least, to say that they're going to do something. But they're not, because they're going to protect their snitch, and they're going to give me whatever little bit of, they're going to tell me whatever they think it is, and hopefully I'll go away. Hopefully we'll tell him we'll get a warrant, and he won't be smart enough to go into the Raleigh County Legal Annex and look it up on the computer in the magistrate's office. Jeez. I'd never be that smart.